Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 offensive breakout candidates for the upcoming 2020 NFL season. While you're at it, please like and subscribe as it helps the channel grow, and click on my Instagram. The link is in the description down below. You'll get new notifications every time a video is posted. I hope you enjoy the video. My number 5 offensive breakout candidate for the upcoming 2020 NFL season is none other than Redskins running back Darius Slay. I know that Adrian Peterson is in Washington, and he rushed for about 900 yards last year, 5 touchdowns, and a 4.3 average yards per carry. But in the 5 games that Darius Slay played in, he averaged 5.8 yards per carry. Let me say that again, 5.8 yards per carry. He also added 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yes, he was injury-ridden, but he's been injury-ridden since he stepped in the NFL after being drafted in 2018, 59th overall by the Redskins in the second round. But, as I said, Geis out of LSU was a dynamic running back, especially playing at LSU. He was one of the best running backs there, and he had a lot of hype coming out of the draft, and he had a lot of hype, especially in fantasy circles last season, about perhaps a breakout season. If he's able to stay healthy, we saw what he was able to do a little bit last year. I mean, 5.8 yards per carry. I'm going to still come back to that. That's just a crazy stat. But if he's able to even get maybe like 5.1 yards carry, he's going to be a dynamic running back that will fit into that Dwayne Haskins offense. And with Brandon Scherff on that O-line, that's not a terrible O-line in Washington there. So look for Geis, if healthy, to be my number 5 offensive breakout player in 2020. My number 4 breakout candidate is going to be Devin Funchess, the wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. So, in Carolina, in his first 4 seasons, he was nothing but average. He was just an average wide receiver, caught 300 to 500 yards a season, besides his 2017 campaign that saw 840 yards, 63 catches, and 8 touchdowns, which was a really solid year for him. And then in 2019, after not re-signing with Carolina for his 5th year, Indianapolis gave him a 1-year, $13 million contract that he accepted, which was pretty crazy money, especially for him and his production. But he went to Indianapolis, and he ended up only playing 1 game and getting 3 catches for 32 yards, which is not exactly what you want from your $13 million receiver. So Indianapolis decided not to re-sign him, and in free agency, the Packers were like, you know what, we need a receiver. So they called, and they picked him up. So now in Green Bay, why is Funchess why is he going to be an elite receiver? I'm not saying he's going to be an elite receiver, but why is he going to be a player that you can count on to be good in fantasy, for example? So he's going to be good because, one, Jimmy Graham is no longer there, meaning a receiving target for Aaron Rodgers is out of the equation after he was cut by the Packers and is now on the Bears. Plus, his quarterback is none other than Aaron Rodgers, who is the king of spreading the ball throughout the field to his number 2, number 3, number 4 receivers, as we've seen in the past with Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, as well as last year, with Lazard and Allison and Marcus Valdes-Scantling, excuse me. So he likes to spread the ball throughout the field, meaning Davante Adams isn't the only player getting touches. However, he also does find the good players. And Funchess, he's not a bad player. He's not a good player either, but he's better than guys like Valdes-Scantling as well as Lazard. So look for Funchess to be that number 3 guy in that offense. I mean, behind Aaron Jones as a running back, Davante Adams, and it's going to be him as that number 3 guy. So he's going to get production. He's going to be a good, solid player in that Packers offense. And especially if you're in a fantasy draft, look to pick him up in a later round, maybe towards the end of your draft, somewhere between the 14th and 16th round, if you do a 16-round league. So with that, Devin Funchess is my number 4 breakout candidate for the upcoming 2020 NFL season. My number 3 breakout player is Bills running back Devin Singletary. So, the former 3rd-round pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, 74th overall by the Bills out of FAU, had a solid season last year. Some people would say it was a breakout season, but, at 775 yards rushing as well as 2 rushing touchdowns, to me, isn't necessarily a breakout year. And yes, he was injured for 4 games. He missed 4 games. So, perhaps, if he played all 4 games, I think he was well on his way to 1,000 rushing yards. So, with that said, I think that Singletary has room to grow. Firstly, his 5.1 average yards per rushing attempt last year was really high among running backs. And I think that's a really solid stat for him, and that shows that he's a healthy player. He's going to grow. Also, that offensive line in Buffalo is one of the younger offensive lines in the league, meaning that year to year they're going to improve, meaning they're going to open more lanes for Singletary, giving Singletary more options. Also, that Buffalo Bills offense is just better this year. It's just better. They brought in Stephon Diggs. John Brown is going to be better this year. Cole Beasley, the most underrated receiver in the league, is probably going to dip a little bit because he has Stephon Diggs now on that wide receiving core. But that wide receiving core as a unit is going to be better, right? I've already mentioned the offensive line. And Josh Allen, if you've checked out my other videos, I've talked about him being a potential MVP candidate. So you already know what I think about him. So, with that said, I think that Buffalo Bills' offense is just going to explode this year, and Singletary is going to be a part of that. However, the one knock on Singletary is that, they picked up Zach Moss in the draft out of Utah, and he could be a running back that could contend for some playing time. But I think Singletary, if he stays healthy, he could be that next LaShawn McCoy type level runner in Buffalo. So look for Singletary to break out in 2020. My number 2 offensive breakout player for 2020 is going to be Teddy Bridgewater, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. So, since being a first-round pick for the Vikings back in 2014, Bridgewater had a big injury in Minnesota that basically derailed his career after making the Pro Bowl in 2015. And that year in 2015, he led his team to an 11-5 record. So we know that Bridgewater's an accomplished quarterback. He can play, right? So Bridgewater last year in New Orleans ended up playing 9 games, starting 5 of them, after Drew Brees went down with injury. I believe it was a hand injury. And he led his team to a 5-0 record, which is exactly what you want to see from Bridgewater. He also threw for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. And the thing we know about Bridgewater, he's a mobile quarterback. He can get out there. He's a good leader. He can lead his team to victory. And that's what we saw in New Orleans. He stepped in. He did the job. He led his team to victory. Therefore, Bridgewater's a winner. He knows how to win. He knows how to get it done. And now in Carolina, right, he's got weapons on that offense. I know that offensive line is a little bit questionable, and the Panthers didn't focus on the offense at all during the draft. But just look at their offense for a second. Firstly, their running back. They have the best running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey, right? He's going to be any quarterback's best friend, and he's definitely going to help out Teddy Bridgewater. Plus, Bridgewater's got a great wide receiving core. He's got DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and newly signed Robbie Anderson, who's an explosive, dynamic receiving threat. So with all those weapons in Carolina, look for Bridgewater to have a breakout season. Breakout season for him, I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but he's going to become an established starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to finally live up to that first-round hype that he was in 2014. Therefore, look for Bridgewater to break out in 2020. And finally, the number 1 breakout star for 2020 is none other than Broncos quarterback Drew Lock. I love Drew Lock. Ever since he came out of the draft last year in the second round, 42nd overall, out of Missouri, you could just, watching his tape, you just saw the arm talent. He can make almost any throw on the football field. He's a huge arm, and that's what really just jumped off the tape for me. But now, you know what? He played last year a little bit in Denver, playing 5 games, starting all 5 of them. And he led the Broncos during that run to a 4-1 record, which is exactly what you want to see. You want to see your young quarterbacks winning football games. That's what it comes down to. I don't really care about the stats as much as if you're winning the football games. Also, he hit about 1,000 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, and was sacked 5 times. I'm not too worried about the sacks. But what Drew Lock did was establish himself as a quarterback in the NFL. He was able to play in the NFL, and he was able to be successful. Now, why is Drew Lock going to break out in 2020? First reason, it's his second year in the NFL. He's a little bit more experienced. Yeah, but I can say that about any player. But why is it going to be him? So, this is my number 2 reason. Look at what the Broncos did in the draft. They got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler to add to Courtland Sutton, as well as getting Alberto to add to their tight end depth. But they still will start Noah Fant. However, those wide receivers now are going to be electric. They're going to be electric. They're trying to copy the model that Kansas City has done about putting speed and putting wide receivers out there that can make all sorts of plays. They've got the superb route runner in Jeudy, and they've got the speed demon in Hamler, and then they've got the all-around receiver in Courtland Sutton. Those are options and those are weapons that Drew Lock will utilize next year. Secondly, Melvin Gordon, getting Melvin Gordon to add to Phillip Lindsay, that was a great move. And Lindsay and Melvin Gordon are going to create one of the best backfields in the NFL. I don't know if it's going to be a running back committee. I don't know what's going to happen there, but you have that running back depth and you have that running back expertise that is just going to help any second-year quarterback thrive. So with the running game going to be massively improved, as well as the great wide receiver core in Denver, look for Drew Lock to be a standout player in 2020. Now that you've reached the end of my video, I want to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe as it helps my channel out, and check out my other videos on my channel. Also, you can follow my Instagram, the link is in the description down below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, see ya.